Her laughter, once a melody that could make my heart race, was something I thought I would always cherish. But as she stepped through the front door after her business trip, the sound had changed. It was no longer the sweet, carefree tune I adored in our youth. Now, it was sharp, reckless, almost hollow. "Hello, sweetie," Sarah greeted, her voice light and airy, as if she had just returned from a distant dream rather than a corporate conference. She kicked off her heels, her purse landing carelessly on the chair by the door. Her laughter still lingered in the air until she saw it. A framed photograph sat on the dining room table, its presence undeniable. The moment her eyes fell upon it, her laughter died abruptly, as if someone had flipped a switch. Her smile wavered, and the color drained from her face. She stood frozen, staring at the image that once captured the happiest day of our lives. It was our wedding photo. She looked radiant in her delicate lace dress, and I stood beside her, beaming in my crisp navy suit. We had looked like two people who had won the greatest prize in life, each other. But now, there was a new addition to the picture. Scrawled across the glass in bold, red letters were two simple words. "I know." Sarah's breath hitched, her hands trembling as she turned to face me. Her voice was barely above a whisper. "What is this, Jack?" I leaned against the kitchen counter, arms folded across my chest, my expression unreadable. "Why don't you tell me?" Her mouth opened, but no words came out. I could see it in her eyes, the frantic calculations, the desperate attempt to piece together what I knew, how I had found out, and what I intended to do. "Jack, I don't know what you're talking about," she stammered. A bitter laugh escaped me, one so unfamiliar that even I barely recognized it. "Please, don't insult my intelligence." My voice was quiet, but sharp enough to cut through the silence like a blade. "For months, you've been feeding me lies. Business trips, late office hours, a sudden passion for the gym." I pulled out my phone, swiping through a series of images, each one more damning than the last. Sarah's face contorted as she took them in. Her and Mark, her business partner, holding hands at a seaside resort, laughing over drinks at a dimly lit bar, kissing beneath a cabana, their silhouettes entwined against the glow of the sunset. "I can explain, Jack," she breathed, her voice unsteady. I scoffed, my patience unraveling. "Can you?" My grip on the phone tightened. "Can you explain how you've been sneaking around with Mark while I've been working overtime to pay for your yoga retreats and weekend spa trips?" My voice rose, fury bubbling to the surface. "Are you sorry for what you did, or just sorry you got caught?" She took a hesitant step forward, hands reaching for me as if she thought she could still fix this. "Please, just let me explain. It's not what it looks like." I held up a hand, stopping her in her tracks. "Don't. Just don't." For months, I had been drowning in doubt, convincing myself that I was paranoid, that I was imagining things. But I had needed proof, undeniable, irrefutable proof. And now that I had it, I had made my decision. "I've already filed for divorce," I said, my voice cold, detached. "My lawyer will have the papers delivered to you tomorrow. I suggest you take a good, long look at our prenup before you think about contesting it." Her face crumpled. She knew as well as I did. The agreement was airtight. She would leave with exactly what she had brought into this marriage, which wasn't much. "You don't have to do this, Jack," she whispered, desperation creeping into her tone. I ignored her. "Oh, and I've already told Mark's wife." That landed like a physical blow. She flinched, her mouth opening and closing as if searching for words that wouldn't come. I let out a dry chuckle. "Don't worry," I said, my tone almost amused. She was very understanding. In fact, she shared some interesting things with me, too. Silence stretched between us, thick and suffocating. The weight of everything, of her betrayal, of my exhaustion, of the inevitable fallout, settled into the space we once called home. And for the first time in a long time, I felt something close to peace. She sobbed, but I wasn't done. I let out a slow breath, my pulse steady, my resolve unshaken. Reaching into a drawer, I pulled out a thick folder and tossed it onto the table between us. The pages fanned out, texts, images, receipts, each piece of evidence a nail in the coffin of the life we had built. "You really thought you were the only one sneaking around." I asked, my voice eerily calm. Mark's wife had her suspicions too. She shared some of her own findings with me. Sarah's face crumbled further, her hands trembling as she clutched the edge of the table, as though the weight of her guilt was finally pressing down on her. If you even think about fighting me on this divorce, I continued, my tone sharp as steel, this whole file goes straight to your company's HR department. Let's see how they feel about two of their top managers using company time and money to fund their affair. Her legs gave out beneath her, and she collapsed into a chair, burying her face in her hands. The air was thick with the sound of her broken sobs. I made a mistake. Jack, please. I love you. A bitter laugh slipped from my lips, hollow and cold. Love. I echoed, shaking my head. You call this love? I took a slow step forward, leveling my gaze at her. You don't love me, Sarah. You love the life I built for you. The security, the comfort, the stability. I exhaled sharply, my jaw tightening. But you never respected me. Her cries filled the space around us, but I felt nothing. No anger, no sadness, not even regret. Just a strange, unfamiliar sense of weightlessness. A burden I hadn't even realized I was carrying had finally lifted. I turned toward the door, grabbing my keys from the counter. I'll be staying at a hotel for the next few days. By the end of the week, the movers will come for your things. You need to be out of this house. She lifted her tay-streaked face, desperation written across every inch of it. Please, Jack, we can fix this. We can go to counseling. I shook my head, cutting her off before she could finish. Some things, Sarah, can't be fixed. I reached for the doorknob, then paused, casting one final glance over my shoulder. Oh, and I canceled the credit card you used for that new purse you bought on your business trip. Have fun explaining that. Without another word, I walked out, her cries echoing behind me. As I drove away, I braced myself for the storm of emotions I expected to feel: anger, grief, resentment. But beneath all of it, something else emerged. Something surprising. Freedom. The next morning, I woke up in my hotel room to a single text from Mark's wife. Thank you for telling me. I'm leaving him too. We deserve better. She was right. We did. I glanced toward the window, watching as the first light of dawn crept over the horizon. The end of my marriage wasn't the end of my life. It was a beginning of something new, something better. And for the first time in months, I felt hopeful.